Well, Snyder stands. What you got to say about this then? Because this is perfect. This is how I want my Superman looking on screen. Don't get it twisted. Henry Cavill looks sensational in his fantastic costume designed by the multi-talented costume designer Michael Wilkinson. But this, my friends, is absolutely fantastic. Now, a lot of people are saying this is the picture we should have got before. Now, when they first kind of, showed us the costume and David in the costume, this is what we should have got. That would have been a bit difficult because this costume didn't exist at that time. Maybe it wasn't ready yet, right? Because I've explained to you before my theory that I think that it's an in-house joke within the movie that Martha Kent first attempt to, sew together a Superman costume has gone a bit wrong. She's got the sizes wrong, and it's a gag within the movie. And then at the end of the movie, she presents Clark with this costume that's a better fit. Now, if this is the case, then it's still difficult because you're presenting a costume that's looking a bit baggy and it's not very good marketing. At the very least, you should explain if that's the case. And I don't even know if that's the case. So it looks like this is absolutely a new suit. And it's slightly different, but it's certainly a tighter fit. And it's very, very interesting. Was this always part of the plan, or is this a response to the criticism? We have seen James Gunn be quite happy to change things when he's had complaints from fans. This is a really good thing in a writer-director. Similar with the Sonic trailer. They changed it once they got, genuine, constructive, logical criticism, right? And if that's the case, if they've actually changed the costume and done reshoots with this costume, fair enough. Now, also fair enough, if Martha Kent within the film has made it a few sizes too big and it's a gag within the movie, I'm also fine with that. Now, let me tell you, I reacted like everybody else to the original reveal of the costume. I actually liked the first picture. I had no issue with it when he's putting the boots on. It looked fine to me. It did look a little bit baggy, but it didn't look that bad. It actually looked really, really cool, especially with the stuff going on outside. They used the volume and stuff with the window. It looked pretty cool, and I was more interested in what was going on outside than the suit reveal. You're always very excited about, a superhero costume reveal, especially with Superman. But I thought it looked fine, and the on-location set pics didn't look great, but you expect on-location set pics not to look, the finished product. So that was fine with me as far as I was concerned. Now, when we saw the on-location set pics for Man of Steel, it did look perfect. Very, very interesting, right? But anyway, so yes, this should have been the picture they revealed, but Gunn wanted to tease what was going on outside the window. It was a costume reveal as well as a little bit of a tease, and I was fine with it. And ultimately, people were just happy that it was a traditional costume. And look, people who hate the red trunks, look how cool the fucking red trunks look. This is amazing. But at this moment in time, we don't know if we're getting this for the entire movie or at the end of the movie. This is very, very interesting what costume we're actually going to get. As I said before, is it going to be the baggy costume and this at the end? Or is this now a reshot version, an adjusted version of the suit we're going to get for the entire movie? Don't forget, in the trailer we saw last week, he was still wearing the baggy suit. But they couldn't have just changed the costume up just like that, right? Within the space of 7 days. It's impossible, right? So, maybe they took criticisms on from the first costume reveal and they changed it. But then you would imagine we would have seen this version of the costume in that trailer. So to me, I think that this is a costume we will see at the end of the movie, and it looks absolutely fantastic. But I never had an issue with the actual design. Have they adjusted the shoulder pads, by the way? I'm not sure. I think it's a slight adjustment on the design, but this is a great traditional Superman costume, and we'll see how much we see of it in the actual movie. But this is fantastic. It looks good. I was always fine with the design, but this is much better. Now, James Gunn has been speaking about the film, so I'm going to read out some of his quotes. Yes, James Gunn has been speaking about his Superman movie yet again, because now they're really going to be pushing this. There's so much merch for this film, and it's actually really exciting to see. James Gunn talks Superman and the balance of past and future. With its trailer dropping last month, a new Superman universe is rapidly approaching, and its development has been no easy task. After all, we've seen 6 feature films with the iconic character over the last 20 years, including the last 4 in Zack Snyder's DC Universe with Henry Cavill as the powerhouse protagonist. James Gunn has big shoes to fill. However, the film's latest extended trailer makes it clear that the blockbuster director understood the assignment. It's a tricky position to be in. Cavill's Superman has no shortage of fans, and perhaps more than that, the franchise has a devout fan base that's always quick to challenge or question anything that feels out of line with the historical story arc of its titular character. Superman is one of the most popular characters, famous characters in the world, and everyone has their idea of what he should be like, what his costume should look like, what his morals should be, what his power set is, and so finding something that was as true and as authentic as I could possibly make it, stated Gunn in our Q&A session after the trailer's release. We can certainly expect a healthy dose of nostalgia in the upcoming film, though not a full-on retro throwback. Both scoring and certain story arcs will put a smile on the faces of those more familiar with earlier facets of the franchise. John Murphy's scoring for the film got underway before Gunn's script ever basically reached completion, and it beautifully incorporates iconic moments from the classic John Williams scoring in Christopher Reeve's era Superman films, with a modern twist, of course. Viewers can also expect some sparks when we get the full picture of the Clark Kent Lois Lane dynamic between David Coronswet and Rachel Brosnahan. According to Gunn, David and Rachel were incredible individually, but when we brought them together, there was an electricity in the room that was palpable, and part of the steaminess, the sexiness of it, but part of it is just the way they bounce off of each other and the way that old 40s movie stars do. Kind of like Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert played off each other in It Happened One Night. So it's a really miraculous energy between the two of them. We've still got a good way to go before the theatrical release, but it's an exciting time for Superman fans as well as the overarching DC universe. Will this new era of the Man of Steel be as well received as some are expecting? Is the world ready for the post-Snyder Superman era? For now, we'll just have to wait and see. And basically, this is what I say every single day on this channel. We're gonna have to wait and see. Everyone seems to be an expert on how to make a Superman film. Everyone seems to be an expert director on what they would do different or better. I wrote, as you know, if you've been following me for the longest of times, I wrote a screenplay for a Superman movie, and it was Metallo. And we had flashbacks to World War II and the world putting pressure on Superman to kill Hitler and the Nazis. And he refuses. And back in the modern day, Manchester Black and the elite are putting pressure on Superman to kill Metallo, aka John Corbin. But he's a friend of Clark's. He was once a friend of Clark's. So he worked at the Daily Planet with Clark and Lois. He has this no-kill policy. He refuses. And just like Superman versus the Elite, it's putting Superman's no-kill policy on trial. And that would have been my movie. And it would have been a more kind of grounded movie. It would have been, not an alien invasion movie. But I think Gunn has done some similar things here, where, in a way, he's challenging Superman's ideals. A little bit like Snyder did, but in a very, very different, more colourful palette, if you want. As I've said before, James Gunn cannot be Zack Snyder. He shouldn't be Zack Snyder. But the Snyder fans will carry on spreading their poison. They want this film to fail. They will continue. And it's up to me and you to not listen to any of the noise coming from either side. Whether it's the Gunn Bros or the Snyder Bros, right? I love the Snyderverse. I love James Gunn's other movies. I love Peacemaker. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go into this movie with no preconceived ideas. I've seen the trailer. I don't know. I simply don't know if this is going to be a good movie. But that improved suit, that picture, is certainly something that you would like to go in to when you reveal a brand new Superman costume. I sometimes despair of new Hollywood because they are rather incompetent with their ideas at times, but they get there in the end. We know that Warner Brothers has now had their credit rating reduced to junk, whatever that means. And it's something to do with their television arm not doing the business. I've told you before, the whole streaming thing, the HBO Max thing, has been a disaster. They should never have got into bed with Max as part of their version of Disney Plus, if you like. It should have been independent. HBO should have carried on HBO Go and everything they were doing. But they're lazy, so they thought, if we add HBO to it, that's got a reputation of quality. We won't have to do much work to get people to subscribe, and it's been a disaster. They took the HBO off of it because that wasn't really doing much for them, and they were falling out with HBO as a separate entity, and now they're going back into bed with HBO. The streaming service should absolutely have the name Warner Brothers TV or Warner Brothers Plus or WB Plus or WB TV. It should have nothing to do with HBO. HBO should stay divorced of that streaming service. But they're so incompetent, they're so stupid, and they're so dumb, and they've brought this entire situation on their own. Because all the titans of industry, as I keep on saying, have been driven away. The patriarchy has gone. But it was the patriarchy that made Hollywood such a success. And there lies the problem. But in terms of this Superman movie, it's very interesting. The teaser, broke viewing records. And the trailer, the official trailer, also broke viewing records. What are we on? 25, 30 million views now? That's amazing. The likes are impressive. The comments are impressive. There's not as many downvotes as you would expect. That's good as well. So this movie has a chance. If the box office was working normally, you'd think that Jurassic World Rebirth would make over $1 billion, maybe $2 billion. That if we were back into the peak of the MCU in the first 3 phases, that movie may make $1 billion, $2 billion. But there's so many problems. They're having problems. They've gone back to the drawing board. They've started doing extensive reshoots. So that's lunacy as well. I believe this Superman movie has a huge chance to be the biggest hit of this year. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you like my channel, if you enjoy the content, and there's no reason why you should, it's very, very amateur. But if you have been coming in for some time, please help me. Please like, please comment, and please share. It will help me go up the algorithm, and I will be forever in your debt. I want to respond to your comments, but I'm writing 3 movies. Saving Judy Garland, Saving Norma Jean, and my silent movie, Human Nature. I'm also rehearsing with my Amateur Dramatic Society every day at my theatre. I'm very, very busy. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I'm not ignoring your comments, but your comments are very well received. And at the very least, I'm reading them all. So they're important to me. So please help me make this channel a little bit bigger. Because you know what? It can also help me fund the production company I'm developing, Movies TV Mad, ironically. And I think I'm honest with you. I think I give you the information in the right way without trying to sell propaganda against one side or the other. So if you like me and you like the channel, please help me get a little bit bigger. Thank you very much. I shall see you tomorrow.